So her business birthday today, July 15th, born in 1864, died December 15th in 1934 at age 70, is Maggie Lena Walker. Now, here's a great example. I'll just say this right up front. Maggie Lena Walker is a great example of somebody that probably 99% of the Americans have not learned about or know about. And so when I started reading about her, I thought, my gosh, these are the sort of people that we should be honoring. These are the sort of people that have changed Americans' lives, have changed people's lives, fought for equal rights. And these are the sort of statues that we should be having in the town square. So I'll just put that there. So she was an African American teacher and businesswoman. She was the first woman of any race to charter a bank and serve as its president in the United States. And as a leader, she achieved success with the vision to make tangible improvements in the way of life for African Americans and women. She was disabled later on in life and also became an example for people with disabilities. So she was born in Richmond, Virginia, 2 years after the end of the Civil War. And so when she was 14 years old, she joined something called the Order of St. Luke, which it said was a fraternal burial society established in 1867 in Maryland, Baltimore, Maryland. And essentially what this group did is they ministered to the sick and the aged, but they promoted humanitarian causes and also encouraged individual self-help and integrity. So kind of pull yourself up by your bootstrings and take care of yourself. And for many years, she served in a number of capacities until she had the top position, which she held until she died. But as part of this is where the business aspect comes into her humanitarian efforts. So as being part of this group in 1902, she began publishing the organization's newspaper. It was called the St. Luke Herald. And in there, she encouraged African Americans in Richmond to harness their economic power and establish their own institutions. So she was always focused her efforts on, it said she always focused her efforts on accounting and math. Her first business endeavor was a community insurance company for women. And then from there, she continued her entrepreneurial pursuits and always was an ardent supporter of women. And she went on to found this bank, St. Luke Penny Savings
Now,
Bank.
what I'm showing
And
on screen now, Tim, is some of these sepia tone photos you gave me, and there's the
yep,
port, like the photo of her, and then the building of the bank. Is that her? That's her first bank. Or was that the insurance company?
I
It's a
believe it was the
bank.
bank.
Okay,
Yeah, and it was all housed there, and this was in
so that's her
Richmond.
building then. Okay.
Yeah, so they said she was the first woman of any race to charter a bank in the U.S., and she was also African American, so by default, right, also the first African American woman to start and charter a bank and also lead it as president. It said that the bank was a real powerful symbol and representation for African Americans, particularly in the segregated South. And said she not only attracted adults, but she also would appeal to children. So she always gave children that came in and outside that walked by banks, little piggy banks, to encourage them to save
That's
money.
great. I
Right? I
love
mean,
that. Right.
isn't yeah. So her so in 1924, the savings bank had spread to other parts of Virginia, included more than 50,000 members. Many of the people in senior leadership roles were females. She also had many females as board members. Now, I think of this. This is 1924, right? And so while other banks collapsed during the Depression, the St. Luke's Penny Savings Bank survived. Later on, she agreed to serve as chairman, and her bank merged with two other Richmond banks to become the Consolidated Bank and Trust Company, which grew for several generations. And for Richmonders was one of the original African American owned institutions, and still in operation today. In 1928, she was forced into a wheelchair. She had some paralysis from diabetes. And even though she was limited in her movement, she still fought for civil rights, still fought for women's rights, and as I said, became a great example for people living with disabilities. She died December 15th, 1934. And so they made her house a National Historic Site. She's had numerous honors. There's a high school in Richmond named after her. Junior Achievement has honored her with awards. Virginia has put her as one of the top women in Virginia history. So there's just a number of awards, and then of course the final one, which you probably have the picture of, is
Statue.
in 2017 they put a big statue of Walker unveiled on Broad Street right in Richmond. It's a 10-foot statue that depicts her and the way she lived. They said she always had her glasses pinned to her lapel and a checkbook in her hand.
And a checkbook in her hand.
And a checkbook in her hand. So as I said earlier, this I never heard of. I never heard of her. I don't know if you have somebody that we never learned about, Maggie Lena Walker. I'm sure that if you took an African American history class, you probably knew about her. But here's somebody that did such great stuff. And these are the sort of statues I think we should have in the town square, not some treasonous Confederate soldier. But that's a sidebar.
Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. What a super cool business birthday, and that's the kind of thing you do want to celebrate, and that's why you said here's a statue that deserves to be made, right? I think
Right.
it's great.
It's great. I was reading about the artist and everything, and it was really cool about the unveiling of the statue. There were a bunch of pictures of. They had a lot of kids that attended her high school. Looked like the UN, kids of all different shades, shapes, and sizes. But it was, they were celebrating her life and celebrating her, and it was quite the celebration to put that statue up in Richmond. So, kudos to the people of Richmond for honoring Maggie Lena
I think
Walker.
it's fantastic.